So I didn't go to college, no formal education in that sense, but very, self-educated, worked in restaurants and construction, the only two things I did before the military. Did retail in the military, got out, worked in restaurants and construction after that until 1997. So I got out of the military in 85. In 1997, I started my first real business. It was a construction company, little remodeling handyman company on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I know you know where that is because the Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, that's our number one renter and owner demographic. Well, number one renter demographic for the Outer Banks, big summer vacation destination, rental homes. So got my start there as a remodeling handyman contractor, did $250,000 my first year. 7 years later, we were one of the largest builders and developers in the area and doing about $30 million a year. Sold that company, started 12 other businesses along the way, built them up, sold them off. Some were, trades businesses, pool spa landscaping, electrical company, hurricane shutter company, painting company, had a gymnastics, trampoline, cheerleading school, a bunch of different things, restaurants, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just a serial entrepreneur. So my whole thing was I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad back in, probably 97 timeframe, 98. And I did not get real estate out of that book like a lot of people do. What I got was I wanted to be Rich Dad. I wanted to be the guy that everybody came to with deals, opportunities, and he owned everything. He taught everybody. So that's who I wanted to be. So that's what I did. So I started that company and started all these other companies doing the same thing Rich Dad did with and through other people, leveraging time, talents, and resources of others to do bigger deals and to do more deals. So I owned a bunch of companies and, did a bunch of real estate deals, but it was all, through other people. Real estate's always been my main investing vehicle until 2009 when I got into the markets for the first time, stock markets. But anyways, that's a different story. So my first deal, right out of the gate was I flipped a lot. I had a friend of mine that was a realtor and he said, hey, there's a lot over here that we can buy. You put up all the money, I'll do everything else and we can flip it and make, 30 grand, whatever it was. I think it might have been $100,000 lot. And I said, we can do that. And he said, yeah. I said, okay. So I put up the money, 100 grand, and 30 days later, he had it sold for 130, 135. We split the money, and I thought, man, this is awesome. So it kind of turned the light bulb on to where I understood there was a lot of value in land, and there was, you could flip real estate. I didn't really know that was a thing. I mean, I didn't know. So I started doing, those types of deals, and I was doing some work for some guys that were buying big beach houses and renovating them, and then, renting them out and then selling them. And so I started learning from those guys and said, hey, I want to do this too. And they said, well, do a couple of these deals and maybe we'll teach you. So I started learning from them, started doing, that on my own. And then I learned how to be a spec builder from a friend of mine who was a developer out of Northern Virginia. He came down and taught me how to build spec houses. And, I was the builder and, that's the way it was supposed to be. He was supposed to put up all the money. I was supposed to do everything else. And then we were going to split the profits. Turned out I ended up putting up the money, signing on the dotted line, and he took total advantage of me and cost me about $250,000 over a few years period. But I learned a great lesson. I still made probably about the same, but, I lost about that as well in what we were supposed to split. He ended up refinancing the houses and without even telling me and kept them. And we ended up settling, but it was a big mess. But anyways, I learned a big lesson and, took total advantage of me, but it was one of the best lessons I ever learned. And then I started building spec houses and I would go and, my whole position going back to the lot flip was, I knew if I could tie up the land and control the land, that's where the profit was. That's where I could make the money. The vertical was just extracting the value out of the land. So I would go tie up lots or I'd, buy a hotel, tear it down and then flip the lots to an investor and then build them the houses. So, I was making a premium on top of the, basis in the land. And if you wanted that deal, you had to buy the land for me and you had to build with me. So we had the building company, we had a real estate company. I was a broker. And, got my license after I paid my realtor a couple $100,000 one year. I'm like, I'm getting a license, And in North Carolina, it was easy. You take the classes and you're a broker. That's all you had to do. So I had my own company and, I had a staff and then I brought on some brokers and kind of grew from there. But, that's kind of the evolution of me and my story. And, then I started just doing bigger deals and started getting into land development, started doing commercial and, those types of things and just kind of learned it all the hard way by working for other investors and developers, getting taken advantage of and investing in myself. So I did, read a lot, took a lot of courses, went to a lot of seminars, things like that. So I educated myself along the way, but man, I sure learned how to do deals and how to do business the hard way.
Yeah, that's